Hi guys, Selena Walker here, naturopath and nutritionist living deep in nature. And today I want to talk to you about the spring equinox. Now the spring equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere is happening tomorrow, but obviously depending on when you watch this video will depend on how close it is for you. So it's worth checking out the dates where you live when the spring equinox is. And the spring equinox is a biggie because it's the most cleansing time of the year. And I want to try and explain the impact this has on you on a physical, an energetic, an emotional, a spiritual level, because we are all those things. So at the spring equinox, I want you to think of those bulbs that you might have growing on your land or in a pot outside your house. And those bulbs in winter, they're very closed down, aren't they? They're conserving all their energy. And that is what we have been doing over the winter. We are closed down. But at the spring equinox, the energy in us has a massive flip and we get opened back up. So suddenly at spring equinox, bang, we are given the energy, our energy shifts. So like those bulbs in the pot, we can suddenly have that burst of energy to burst through the soil, open ourselves up and bloom into all those ideas that we've been kind of working on in the winter. So what happens at the spring equinox is the energy opens up. So it kind of travels up us and down our back, like opening us back up. Because throughout the winter, we've been very closed down. The energy's been the opposite. It's almost like a big cloak over us, up our back, down our front, closing us down for winter. And then at spring equinox, that big cloak is opened up our front, down our back to open us up for the summer ahead. And what happens during that opening up, our body wants to purge any toxicity that we've obtained or gathered or has been created inside of us throughout the winter. And that could be toxicity from many things. It could be from eating toxic foods, lots of processed foods, lots of foods that don't agree with us. It could be from having lots of alcohol or other substances, pharmaceutical drugs that we put inside of us. It could be from emotional toxicity, because lots of people forget about that. The emotional toxicity, negative behaviour patterns, negative thought processes, ego coming up. It could also be from electromagnetic pollution around you. It could be from drinking water full of chlorine and fluoride in it. So there's lots of ways these days. I mean, that's just a small amount, there's cosmetics, there's toiletries, there's all kinds of things that we can get toxins from. And even if we lived in some kind of human utopia, we would still get toxicity from cell breaking down inside of us, because our cells are constantly repairing and renewing, and that leaves debris, so we'd have toxicity that way. And when our body goes to that spring equinox energy flip, it can create a massive detox, because our body wants to rid all the toxins that we've created through the winter to go into spring a lot lighter, so we can bounce around like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. We can bounce around and have the energy to go through summer, exactly like what's happening to the plants and the trees around us. So what can happen? Well, what can happen for you is it may be that toxicity gets stuck inside of us. So what do I mean by that? Well, it might try to come out of our main route of elimination. We have lots of amazing functions in our body to get rid of these toxins, because we're always getting rid of toxins. We perspire, toxins come out. We urinate, toxins come out. We have a poo, toxins come out. We constantly have these routes of elimination that eliminate for us. But because of the way we live and how we live very unnatural lives these days, toxins can get stuck in that route of elimination. If they get stuck, then we can start to have symptoms. So around the equinoxes and the solstices, in fact, but more so around the spring equinox, because it is the most cleansing time of year, your body will try and cleanse. No matter what is going on for you, your body will try and cleanse. And if the main routes of elimination are a bit clogged up, then that will result in toxins not getting out, but getting moved along. And that can result in maybe you having glands swollen, getting quite mucousy. It may be you have a cold coming out. It may be you have a gurgly stomach or a stomach upset. All those conditions can be a result of the spring equinox having that massive cleanse in you and your body not being able to get it out. So by the main route of elimination, our body naturally has a route where it likes to get toxins out. So toxins are stored very nice and neatly in our cells. And our body, when it's given the opportunity to cleanse, those toxins will move along to the lymph glands. Now, if you're not hydrated and if your body's not flowing and you're quite toxic, because those lymph glands don't have pump like the circulatory system, like the blood, then it can hit porridge and suddenly get stuck there, and that's when you can get very lymphy and swollen and just feel very groggy. Maybe your lymph is flowing, you're lovely and hydrated, so those toxins will work their way to the blood, and then that blood within around 3 minutes, all drops of blood will have gone through your liver, and your liver that can then have a conversation to decide, have a bit of a meeting, decide where those toxins are going to go next. Are they going to come out via the skin? Are they going to come out via the kidneys and urine? Or are they going to go via the bowels? And the majority of it does go via the bowels. So if you were someone that is quite constipated, doesn't go to the toilet quite often, then obviously those toxins are going to get stuck there. And then the body might try and eliminate some toxins through the skin, but it might be too much, so you might end up with itchy skin, or you may be someone that you have eczema, so the toxins are trying to come out in excess that way. But there's lots of ways that the toxins will naturally try and come out. And in flow, they would just come out. But as I said, we humans live a very unnatural life these days, so we can help it along. Now, you may see that some people are doing massive cleanses, massive fasting, loads of juicing, particularly at certain times of the year, like New Year, everyone decides to do that. But how many of those people end up feeling foggy, headachy, they might feel sick and just feel pretty crappy, really. And that is because they move in the toxins. They're not actually getting the toxins out. And in naturopathic healing, when we're looking at doing any kind of cleanse, we're looking at doing it specific for that person. So if that person is, for instance, they have a glass of wine every night, they drink coffee throughout the day, they eat a lot of processed foods, they microwave their foods, have a lot of takeaways. If they suddenly go and do a cleanse, think of the amount of toxins that are suddenly going to be dumped into their routes of elimination and the body's going to need to get out. It's going to be overwhelmed. So I always say, do what is a good step for you. So for instance, a little spring detox for you might be, if you somebody that eats a lot of processed foods and you have a lot of alcohol and caffeine, it may be just to simply start to reduce your alcohol and caffeine and hydrate more, have a lot more water, and have a couple of days of eating good quality food, organic food, home cooked food. Another step for you, maybe if you're already eating a lot of home cooked food, is going raw food for a couple of days and building up to a fast. You always want to step into a fast slowly and step out. So what does that mean? Well, it may be for a month before you start cutting out your caffeine, you start cutting out things like your alcohol, you start cutting out smoking. So you're doing that slowly, because believe me, if you decide to, okay, well, I'm going to do a juice fast for 3 days, and you don't do anything in preparation, you are going to feel really crap. You're going to have headaches. I've seen people vomiting for days because their body's gone into withdrawal from these things that they are addicted to, such as caffeine, such as even sugar, salt, alcohol, things like that. So I am inviting you for this spring equinox to take a moment to think about what is happening in your body and what you can do to help your body with that big cleanse. It may be that you just suddenly have a couple of days of resting. It may be you do some juicing but not fasting. It may be that you eat more natural foods. By that I mean foods that are in season. You might check out my video on seasonal eating. And thinking about the spring equinox, that links with the wood energy in the Chinese 5 elements, and those flavours are kind of bitter flavours, but also thinking of like sauerkraut and vinegary flavours, bitter, and I always like to think of the sour flavours as well with the wood element. So I would kind of think of, you know, having things like sauerkraut, looking around you in nature, all those amazing leaves that are coming out. They are the flavours of the wood element, which is where we go after the spring equinox. So starting to consume some dandelion leaves. Remember, not too much, because they are very powerful, these wild foods. And things like sorrel, again, you don't want too much because of the oxalic acids that's in it. So it's just looking around you in nature and just reminding yourself that whatever's going on in nature is going on in you. that massive burst of energy that's needed to come into your own, to bloom into what you're meant to be as that bulb in the ground, is happening in you. And to get that energy to fully bloom, you need to let go of some crap. And that could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be on an energetic level, and you can do lots of things to support you. Now, this video could go on for hours, me talking about those things to support you. But if you've enjoyed me talking about the spring equinox and the impact it could be having on your body, then you might want to check out the rest of my YouTube videos and subscribe, because I'm always talking about things that you can do and filling your toolkit up on how you can create a healthy body, a healthy mind and a healthy planet, because it's all the things. So just be aware, be gentle with yourself over the spring equinox. Be aware, if you're getting symptoms, if you suddenly have a cold a couple of days after or a week after or around the equinox, or you suddenly get sore throat or just symptoms arise, just know. And there's so much, what's the word I'm looking for? There's so much understanding and kind of peace of mind, that's what I'm looking for. There's so much peace of mind when there's a no in there. You feel empowered. So just know that it's your body trying to eliminate toxicity, and it's just struggling. So any symptoms at any time in the body is just a conversation with you, and we don't always understand that conversation, and we sometimes need some wisdom from others to help us understand that conversation. And it may be then that you decide to go on a bit of a journey and slowly start a detox, but the key thing is it's slow. I always say to my clients that where you want to go is like trying to get across a river to a beautiful wildflower meadow. But that river is too wide. Now you might go down to that river and you can see stepping stones, but you don't know which ones to choose. So you get some advice from other people and you suddenly step on the first stepping stone. And that stepping stone is really steady and strong, and you're a bit further towards that beautiful wildflower meadow. So you go on to the next stepping stone, and that stepping stone might be a bit rocky. So you need to look for one a bit closer to the other stepping stone to just help you. And those stepping stones are the tools that you are gathering and getting from others and discovering or downloading into you, or wisdom that's coming to you. Because remember, inside all of you, you have your own internal therapist. All the wisdom we need is there, but sometimes we need others to help us access it. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Happy spring equinox. Have a gorgeous, gorgeous celebration to remind ourselves that we are going into spring. The light is returning, and let the light return to you. Big, big love, and I'll see you soon.